We're going to talk about how to avoid being pickpocketed in Europe or anywhere really, any large city that is a tourist destination. Today, we're going to talk about how to avoid being targeted by a pickpocket. I've traveled all over Europe and all over South America, and I have been pickpocketed, and I've had several attempts at people pickpocketing me. I want you to learn from my mistake of being a victim in my 20s when I was backpacking around and I just had no idea that there were pickpockets even around. Pickpockets tend to work in groups. They're a team and they have a way to get your stuff away from you. I have experienced several pickpocket attempts just because I was naive, but I do know better now and I am more aware. Okay, let's get to it. When you travel and you're in a crowded touristy area, you need to understand that every single day there are pickpockets there. There are people who this is their full-time job. They go to the crowded tourist destinations. The tourists are there. They're looking at everything. They're amazed by everything. They're completely distracted, and they are really good, easy targets for pickpockets, unfortunately. They really want an easy target. So I want you to not be an easy target like I was back in my 20s. These pickpockets, they can be anyone. They can be a man in a business suit. They can be a grandmother. They can be a crowd of kids. They can just be people looking like they're walking to work. They can really look like anything. They could be a group of teenage girls. In this video, I'm going to tell you how you can avoid being a target for a pickpocket. I'm going to talk about 10 different ways or more, maybe a dozen ways that pickpockets might be targeting you and things that you need to watch out for. Common ways these will rob you is one of them is in public transportation. First of all, they might crowd up against you. There may even be several of them in there that you don't realize, but they'll crowd up against you. And now if this is a crowded bus, you won't think anything of it because this is just how it is. But one of them is going to be robbing you, unzipping your bag, getting your wallet out, passing it off to a friend. This happened to me once in San Francisco, actually on a bus. So it happens and it's quick. And there's really nothing you can do if you didn't, especially if you didn't see it happen. Once your wallet or whatever is in their possession, it's really hard to say, hey, you stole my thing, even if you kind of know who it was. In my case, there was a guy with a jacket held over his arm, like classic, just standing there in business looking clothes when he got my wallet. Another way they can get you is they will crowd you on the turnstile. Oh, my dog just wiggled the camera. They will crowd you on the turnstile into the metro or the subway or whatever. They'll kind of crowd and try to go through it with you because then they don't have to pay. But what they're also doing at the same time is potentially robbing you. Ticket kiosks. Say you're trying to buy a ticket for a train or a metro or bus. There's these little electronic ticket kiosks. And sometimes if you're in a foreign country, they're difficult to use because you have to get onto the right language and some nice person will walk up and try to help you. Well, that is a potential pickpocket. They're trying to distract you so their buddy can pickpocket you. So you just can't trust people. You just have to say, no, thanks, I don't need any help, and let them go. There's always that standard bump in the crowd. You're in a crowded kind of place. There's lots of people and you get kind of bumped. They're like, oh, excuse me, sorry. Chances are that person may have robbed you. So you better check for your stuff. It's probably too late though. They probably already got away. So you need to be ready by not having your stuff in an outside pocket, like your back pocket or an outside pocket. You need to have your stuff tucked away a little more securely than that. Then there's the old scam of when someone try to like spill something on you or they squirt some mustard on you from their hot dog or something like that. Or they say, oh, there's something on your shoulder like some bird poop. Let me help you clean it off. Well, while they're trying to help you clean up and they've got you distracted, somebody else is potentially robbing you. So you got to watch out for that and just say, oh, no, thanks. I'll get it myself, whatever it is. There's lots of random helpful people that are actually trying to pickpocket you. They may or may not get something from you that day, but they are trying to see if you're an easy target. So sometimes one of the things you'll have happen is someone will be like, oh, let me help you find, this place you're going. Are you looking for this place? Are you looking for that place? Well, that person's probably a pickpocket. Most people in tourist areas, especially if they work there every day, they're kind of tired of us. I mean, let's be honest, they're kind of tired of us. They're not going out of their way to help us because this is every day, all day to them if it's a very popular tourist place. But the thieves, they're trying to help you because they have ulterior motives. So you need to be aware of that. If you're in a train station and there's an overly helpful person at the locker area where you're trying to get one of those lockers to store your stuff in for the day while you tour around, that person who is really trying to help you is more than likely they're trying to swap the key out from you, kind of trade a key and you don't realize it, or they're trying to get your code number. If it's a code, they're kind of watching. So you need to make sure just to say, no, thank you. I don't need help. Thank you very much. You're so kind. And just, let them go on their way. Another place you need to avoid are outdoor ATMs. Outdoor ATMs, typically people are targeting those. You're going to have somebody possibly approach you, try to help you, or you have someone who's just sitting there waiting to ask you for money right after you've gotten it out of the bank, out of your ATM, or they're trying to see where you're keeping your money, and then they're going to pickpocket you down the street later because they saw the pocket you stuck it in. So you just need to be aware that there's probably someone, if they're there at that time, watching you, and they might try to rob you very soon. Same with when you're shopping and you're checking out, you put your debit card in and you use your PIN code. You really need to make sure you're hiding that PIN code, put your hand over it, because the potential thief is watching and they're trying to get that PIN code, because then later when they pickpocket your wallet and then they also have your PIN code, they're going to be able to get more money out of your account that way. Another thing you'll see sometimes in crowded tourist areas are people with petitions that they want you to sign. And, it's a little suspicious, right? You can't sign a petition when you're in a country that you don't live in. And they know that. They know you can't sign that petition. So why are they there? Why aren't they in a location where there's more local people rather than tourists? So it's already suspicious, understand? So that person is probably someone you just need to stay away from. Everybody loves a street performer, but street performers are a potential area for pickpockets to go around while you're distracted and look for the easiest targets and pickpocket them. That street performer probably has no idea what's going on, or they might have an idea. I mean, we don't know. They could be working together. Either way, there's going to be pickpockets out there. So you need to be really aware of your stuff. If you're watching a street performer, like they have your attention, right? And they try to keep you there as long as they can. Like, why do they have these shows that go on and on? They always go on longer than you expect. So, at the end, you think, oh, they're just waiting for the tips they're going to get at the end. The real money is coming from the people who are pickpocketing you while their show is going on. Another way you can get pickpocketed, and I've had this one happen to me, although they didn't get my stuff, but they tried, is when a bunch of little kids will crowd up to you and come up to you and be like, hey, like they're trying to sell you something, like they can try to sell you bracelets or gum or whatever, but they're kind of crowding up on you and they're actually kind of touching you, but they're just little, and you're like, oh, what's going on? Those kids are trained to do that. So the first thing you need to do is just pick up your bag and wherever your valuables are. But someone else is probably watching them. Some adult somewhere who have trained them to do that is probably watching you. So just keep that in mind if it happens. Another experience I've had is on long bus rides. You'll have long bus rides where sometimes you're in some remote area and the bus will stop and you can go outside for just a few minutes to use the bathroom. But there's also some vendors there selling stuff, like they're selling some food, they might be selling some little trinkets. But there's also the potential for people that are going to pickpocket you there while you're distracted buying those food and those trinkets. So just keep that in mind. Another experience that I've actually had is in the hostels. Now, this is a long time ago, and I'm not sure, they might be better now. I don't really stay in hostels anymore. But I have heard about people doing this in hostels and other hotels where they might have like a storage room for you to keep your stuff during the day while you're out touring around. Or say you're going to check out early, they'll put the stuff in the storage room while you're out touring, then you'll come back later to get your bag. Well, that is a potential to be robbed right there. And that did actually happen to a friend of mine that I was with on the trip, where they had left their wallet and some extra credit cards and things like that in their backpack. and they ended up getting robbed by leaving it in that sort of storage room. So unless you have a bag that locks, like maybe a hard case bag with like a TSA lock on it or something like that to make it a little more difficult, you definitely don't want to leave your bag in there, or at least don't leave anything valuable in there, like your passport, your wallet, your phone, your credit cards, things like that. Those are the things they want to get. So if you just want to leave your clothes in there and some items that you're not as worried about that probably no one would want to steal, that's fine. But do not leave your irreplaceable valuables there. That will really ruin your trip. And that has happened to me or my friend. The last one I'm going to talk about today is when you're walking in a crowded area in a city or a tourist area, just walking, if you have a backpack on or purse that is sort of out of your sight on the side too much or in the back, they're going to try to either unzip those and get the things out, or they'll even cut those items. Like they'll cut your purse, they'll cut your backpack to get those items out. I did have someone attempt to do that to me once when I was down in South America, in Colombia. I was in an area where there was just a lot of people walking to and from work. It wasn't even in a tourist area. It was just like downtown Bogota. And I heard the zip. It was like zip. And I don't even know why I heard it, but I heard it. I brought the bag around, the pocket, and that little pocket that's in the front of your bag, it was unzipped. My wallet was in there. Stupid, right? Not smart. Not smart. My wallet was in there. It was still in there. They didn't get my wallet. And I turned and I looked, and the guy who had tried to steal from me was wearing business clothes. He looked at me, he smiled, and he walked across the street and he left on to his next target. So I got really lucky that day. He just gave me a smile and went on his way. That just shows you how they are looking for easy targets. They don't want trouble. As soon as they see they can't get it, they're just going to move on to the next person. So they aren't like determined to get your stuff. They just want to get stuff. They're playing a numbers game. They want to steal as many wallets and cell phones and passports as they can that day. So if you are not an easy target, they're going to move on to the next one. So that's why you don't want to be an easy target. So things to remember, they work in teams. They can look like anybody, grandma, businessmen, teenagers, kids. They are way better at this than we are. They do this every day. They do it full time. So they know what they are doing, and they are going to get your stuff if you make it easy for them. If you don't make it easy, they're going to move on to another target. I want to finish with don't let this ruin your trip. Don't let this make you can't go anywhere. Don't don't be paranoid every second of every day that someone's going to steal your stuff. It's not happening constantly, but if you're not aware of it when it is happening around you, you'll be the target. So just be aware. Don't do things like leaving your purse hanging from your chair in a restaurant. That's just too easy. They're just going to take it right off of there. Or leaving your jacket hanging on that chair, they're just going to grab it and they're just going to go. And if your wallet's in the pocket, it's gone. So you just have to be smart and aware when you're in these places. One last one, I wanted to remind you, do not set your cell phone out on a table in a cafe, in a public place where there's lots of tourists. I know we all do it at home where we know the area and where we feel safe. But if you're in one of those tourist areas and you've put it on the table, one little quick distraction and boom, someone's going to grab it. And in a tourist area, that's going to be more common than in your kind of typical area, in your typical neighborhood. Okay, so now that you know how pickpockets commonly might rob you and how you might be a target, I think it's time for us to go to something a little bit lighter. Let's learn how to pack light for Europe so that you have the greatest mobility and you can get around with ease. And I will link that video up here and in the description. So happy travels, everybody.